Hey everyone, Maeve here. I've been thinking about a lot. Obviously, I think a lot of us have been. I just wanted to talk about maybe some things about what it means to be white right now. There's a lot of conversations about how to be a true ally to people of color and what that looks like and what it doesn't look like. Which is fun. I think this is good. This is good movement. So if you're not following me on Instagram, please do. I feel like Instagram is actually a really great way to learn a lot of things. Shh, don't let the people hear that. The people, that we don't want to hear that. But okay. The other thing is, so I was watching a video and that Preston Smiles put on with his friend Adam, and it goes into it's titled something like a deep dive into racism in America or something like that. It's fabulous, really, really great. And what I also really like is that they touch on how to have conversations that are meaningful and don't cause such a rift between you and the other person that you don't even want to talk to them anymore, because I'm hearing that a lot as well, and not even in an interracial communication, but with white people talking to white people. I'm seeing a lot of my white peers saying I'm having these conversations with my family, and now they just unfriended me, or I want to unfriend them, and it ends badly. And so my response to that is I get and understand why you at first have that inclination to just be I'm just gonna unfriend you, screw this, but you can't do that, sorry. But that's just creating more divide, and it's also then gonna shove the work onto somebody else who maybe who may not do as well as you, and maybe it does need to go to someone else. Ultimately, the ultimate plan of things, we don't know. But I would just encourage you not to opt out of a conversation or opt out of a relationship too quickly in that sense, because if we try to have a conversation with someone who's not aware of their racial bias yet, and we're having a 20-minute conversation, and after 20 minutes we don't want to talk to them anymore, it's whoa, yo, it's only been 20 minutes, so try to dig deep into yourself of where you can find that extra reserve of compassion and empathy, because you also used to be that white person who didn't get it. Okay. As I was saying, we've all been there before, and we're all continuously learning, and we're never gonna be a perfect ally. We're never gonna be not unlearning this stuff, so it's just going to be a continuous process. And so keep working with those people in your lives that are part of this. That's part of our work as white people, is to have those conversations in our community and in our families, and that doesn't stop after 20 minutes. Okay. And remember that even if you feel that conversation isn't immediately fruitful, you're still planting seeds, and you're still showing or demonstrating what you believe in. So sometimes that can also be really effective as well. So just don't worry about it in the moment. Just do what you can, and then try to keep that relationship, because if we just avoid these people, then those are just future missed opportunities to keep these conversations going, because it does take more than just 1, 2, 3, 5 conversations. So don't get discouraged. The other thing I want to talk about is Preston was some of these vanilla girls, are the ones that are some of the most resistant to learning about racial justice. And I was thinking about this, and it was I've thought about this before, but why are some of white women the ones that love Trump so much? Because they love everything that threatens them the most in our society. And my response to you, Preston, is that it is these white women that have such a hard time and such an instant defense against racial conversations and racial justice, because if they recognize that, hey, that was murder, or if they recognize, hey, that's violence, then they can't go home and sleep next to their husbands, because who are they all married to? White men. And that also then, if they put into question that violence, then they have to start questioning all of that they've already experienced from the patriarchy themselves as women. And I think that that's too scary. It's too much for some white women. And so I'm thinking, I have so many like ideas of videos to make, and one of them is like kind of demonstrating how I've gone through kind of this racial awakening type growing consciousness, and how that looks for me, because it didn't happen overnight. You know, like these things happen over years, and I've already been doing this work for years, and I still make mistakes. Like I still make microaggressions, and I'm very dedicated in my life towards social justice. And so it's good, but it's worth it, you know, like over time. And even just for today, like, you know, each step helps us get better. And I can tell you for sure, my daughter is not even, she's already years ahead of many of us as adults, because she's raised in an environment where equity, equality, love, nonviolence, non-patriarchy, these are stuff that she's already been instilled with. And so, you know, with each generation, we do have the opportunity to keep healing, keep raising more consciously aware children, which is amazing. Okay, let's see. Oh, I thought this was clever. Back to quick, the white women that can't go home to their husbands if they realize what's violent and what's not. They also can't go to the pastors, and they can't go to their fathers or their brothers, and maybe even sometimes to their own sons, right? And then, you know, it's a whole family system, and even to their own daughters, you know, because when you have children, you really start to realize, like, oh, what am I doing here? Like, where are my own boundaries at? Because you know, there's been times where I would see my daughter, you know, struggling with boundaries, or I would see like opportunities where she should set boundaries, and then I knew that I was scared to do that, but I was like, well, I can't be scared because I need to teach her how to do this. So then like that forced me to like really make that effort and that change for myself and for her, and so that she could, like I said, grow up with those boundaries already intact, so she didn't have to do the work later. All right, what else? If you guys haven't heard of Young Pharaoh, he has a YouTube channel, and then he talks a lot about the system, the powers that be beyond our government, our puppet government. And it's really important that we also are starting to see that those that profit off of chaos, confusion, fear, that they are wanting us to divide and to fight each other, whether it be racial or political or economic, but right now they're really instilling that racial piece. And so don't participate in the race war. Don't do it, because it's us against them. And the only thing that we have over them is our numbers. They have trillions of dollars. They have countries all over the world. They have everything except the number of people. Okay? So we cannot divide. It is not about race. It is not about political opinion. Each of us is a human being. Okay? And so when we go out to protest, when I'm out there, this is my agenda, and this is what I feel like I'm working towards, is identifying the infiltrators. Identify who is a peaceful cop and who is not. Identify the cops that are going around ruining the water stations, or like, you know, whoever, or, you know, like damaging their own cars or whatever it is to instill that violence and that rioting, right? So I would look out, just keep aware, be aware of that. Wake up. And it is yet still a twofold thing. So like, something I tell people, you know, that I'm working with a lot is this. Like, I can't do two hands right now because I'm holding my phone, but it's okay to learn how to hold two truths at the same time that are maybe in conflict or not quite aligned. So it is true that our country is founded on racism and genocide and colonization and all of these things, and it is true that racism still exists and it is still a threat to every single one of us. So we still have to continue to fight that every day, and we cannot let up. This cannot, you know, if you're really a true ally, and this is to you, my white people, if you are, being an ally doesn't stop when you step off the pavement or when you go home or in 2 weeks. Like, this is an everyday lifetime human experience, right? So welcome. It's lovely. It really is. Like, my life is just so much richer and so like rich in, you know, the meaningful ways that it should be. So Ayo, I was looking through the video while editing it, and then I realized what I had forgot earlier in my train of thought. So the other truth to hold, one is being that, yes, America is founded on racism, and that is true. The other one is that there is a puppet government, and then the few families that are running everything else. So we have to battle both. So it's an and thing. It's not an either or thing. It's both. That's all. Right? And then I think the other thing too is just like being in the community and working with everyone else and learning to do that, because what I love is that the powers that be, they think that they are dividing us, but really we're unifying. And we're also like learning that we are more resourceful and smart and able to organize and communicate very, very, very well. And that should scare them. So, well, yeah. So we can rise up, and it's time, because this, you know, this fear and patriarchy and you know, mishandled democracy and whatever all that other shit is, like, it hurts every single one of us. It hurts white people, it hurts black people, it hurts immigrants, it hurts everyone. So show us peace. That's what I'll be saying marching tomorrow. Right. So also when you know, there's been 2 messages that I think that I've been hearing, and I just wanted to summarize it because I may not be the only one you know, perceiving it or, you know, wondering about it. So there's this message from, you know, the whole message of like white silence is white violence, which is true. It is. Then there's also this message of like white people need to stop speaking, give voice to people of color, make space for them. So I just want to kind of give that some context, because I think it could be like a mixed message, or people could be confused as to like, well, here you're saying us to kind of sit back and be quiet, and then here you're saying like telling us to speak up. And I think that the difference here, how to understand this, is that when you're working in the community, especially a diverse community, lets the leaders lead, and that's not going to be you, because you're not going to know how to lead that. And then you should then, in communities that are just white, or just in your family or wherever, like that you aren't speaking up, that's where you have the opportunity to speak up. And it can also be in the way of like, hey, here's this video, right, of this person of color or this activist who's been doing this work for 30 years or whatever. You're sending that, you're saying, hey, you listen to this message, and then you have a conversation and help facilitate that conversation within your own community. So what you're doing is you're not speaking for people of color or black people, but you're like holding space and having those conversations about what other people are saying already. So it's not that you're making up this new analysis or thought system about whatever, or interpretation of what's happening. Like, that's already done and accurately described by those who are experiencing the oppression. So please, I think just hopefully that's an important distinction. So